The Pretoria Pit Disaster. Bolton, Lancashire, is a working-class industrial town situated in the northwest of England. It was an integral part of Great Britain's Victorian Industrial Revolution. One of Bolton's primary industries was coal mining. Many of the companies that were running this trade had started early. As a result, Bolton was leading the rest of the world in the production of fossil fuels. The Hulton Colliery Company was a thriving coal mining company operating from the Lancashire coalfield, developed from small coal mines on the Holton Park estate from the 1500s. The Holton coal mining successes hadn't been without controversy. William Hulton, High Sheriff of Lancashire in the early 19th century, was notorious for his workers being the poorest paid in Lancashire. They also suffered difficult working conditions. By the start of the 20th century, the coal mines of Great Britain were becoming depleted. The rich seams of surface coal that had initially produced such great wealth were drying up, so the miners were forced to go deeper and deeper in pursuit of the resource. Hulton Bank Colliery No. 3 Pit, or the Pretoria Pit, as it was known locally, was one such mine. By the early 1900s, it had become deep and dangerous. Workers, many of whom were children, complained about the perilous conditions, but there was little they could do to object, other than quit their job and face a life of destitution. As well as complaining about the blatant risks of working in Pretoria Mine, the workers also became concerned about a number of bad omens, some apparently supernatural. Amongst these signs of an impending catastrophe were sightings of black carrion crows deep inside the mines, as well as the disembodied noise of startled horses. However, the miners' plea for safety fell on deaf ears, and eventually, disaster struck. There were approximately 2,500 workers employed by the Hulton Colliery Company in 1910. On the morning of 21st December, approximately 900 workers arrived for the day shift. A total of 347 boys and men from the ages of 13 to 61 had descended into the Pretoria Pit shaft to work in the mine that morning, when, just before 8 a.m, there was a tremendous underground explosion about 300 yards below the Earth's surface. The blast was heard over 4 miles away. A section of roof along the mine had collapsed the day prior to the explosion, which had resulted in fire-damp gases accumulating in the cavity left behind after the collapse. This was then ignited by a faulty miner's lamp. Workers close to the source of the blast died instantly. Others suffocated due to the high levels of trapped carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide gases, or afterdamp, as the miners called it. The Pretoria Pit Disaster claimed 343 lives that day. Another man died the following day. The blast was so severe that the remains of 13 of those killed were unable to be visibly identified. It became the UK's worst ever industrial disaster and left a deep psychological scar on the surrounding area. 80 years on, in the early 1990s, memories of the Pretoria Pit Disaster had faded. The family and friends of those killed had succumbed to the passage of time and passed from this world. The town no longer held a remembrance service to commemorate the tragedy, and many locals were now oblivious to the area's dark past. However, it seems that the spirits of those killed were not yet ready to be forgotten. What followed was intense paranormal activity that would be witnessed by many hundreds of people across a wide geographic area. In 1993, a local man was driving along Platt Lane, a small road that ran adjacent to the former site of the mine. He suddenly became aware of dozens of eyes staring at him from the roadside darkness. Startled, he accelerated quickly to get away from the strange, shadowy horde. But as he did so, he heard a loud bang. Initially, he thought he had blown a tire, but he soon realized that the car was functioning normally, so continued to speed away. When the man reached his destination, he was greeted by a terrified friend, who told him that an explosion had been reported locally near Platt Lane. Countless witnesses had seen a tremendous flash of light, followed by a rumbling boom. The area was soon closed off to the public, but despite an extensive search, no evidence of any disturbance was found. Around the same time, a local policeman reported seeing a severed arm dangling from a tree, only for it to disappear before his eyes. There have since been numerous reports of eyes peering out from the hedges, and miners walking along the road, pulling coal wagons behind them. Some locals have described an eerie mist which drops instantaneously on a clear, warm night. Other reports say people have witnessed bodies lying in the roadside, as well as disfigured, limping forms stumbling from the bushes in darkness. Sightings are often accompanied by an unexplainable stench, described as being like burned meat, plus the recurring sound of a mystery explosion. Many people within the local community have opted to avoid the area altogether. Despite several memorials being erected in honour of the deceased, and a remembrance service being held in 2010, 100 years after the Pretoria Pit Disaster, sightings are still being reported. Are the boys and men who perished on that fateful night destined to linger in the area forever?